You're listening to For the Republic, a love letter to Star Wars animation.
Hello there.
All right, it is finally time to discuss the Andor finale here on For the Republic, a love letter to Star Wars animation. I'm one of your co-hosts, Andrew, joined today by Connor and Donovan, but we are not alone today. No. We have, in fact, the greatest Andor crossover in the history of the Star Wars community, because for the third time, Mo is back here because we just can't stop inviting her. How are you today?
I'm doing good.
But we're not alone. We have resident Andor aficionado and Kyle Solar's favorite Star Wars fan right here. 1/3 of Kessel Run Relay, Stardust M. How are you today?
I'm good. Excited to be on.
Yeah, very. I mean, as soon as we started getting these Andor stuff together, I was messaging Liv every week, when are we getting the Kessel Run release on the pod? And then we finally got it to work. So I'm very excited that we at least got one of you. So
yes.
I have one question I normally ask everyone when they first jump on the pod, but beforehand, because I feel like we just have not asked it to Mo and definitely not to you because this is our first time we've had you on, but you were both at the Andor premiere. Tell me about that. What was that like? How did you even how did that even come about? And how does that impact your overall thoughts on the series? The fact that I got to go to the premiere and watch this before everyone else did. What is that like?
Em, you want to go?
Yeah, I think it was the same for both of us. We got a message from Star Wars 2 days before the premiere that was requesting backup, and we were both well, we will do anything to make this happen. And we both also made it a little sister outgoing.
Yeah.
We both brought our sisters to the premiere, and it was really cool. I mean, it was the whole thing was so interesting, besides the panic of trying to figure out what to wear. But the atmosphere is so cool, and then we got to sit and watch the first 3 episodes on the big screen, which just was so fantastic. And it really just, I mean, it just felt like a movie. They told us we were going to be in there for an hour and 45 minutes, and I feel like it went by in a second. I was so invested, and then afterwards we were walking out and we saw Diego Luna and we both got to talk to him and see him.
Whoa.
And that was crazy. Oh, and we met Erin Kellyman and Daniel Logan. Yeah, she was so
nice.
Amazing.
Sweet.
I love her.
She was legitimately shocked that we knew who she was.
Yeah, and we're we love Solo. She's you do?
What? No, when your sister brought up Falcon Winter Soldier, she was she had a face it was people recognize me from that?
I mean, she was the main character in there. She was a very important character in that show. But no, she's Memphis Nest to me always, because I freaking love Solo so much. And I saw she was at the premiere. I'm okay, so she's showing up, and then didn't. But yeah,
it was just a Willow crossover, with Willow.
They're we were
Disney's
we said we'd love to see you in Andor. She's I would love to be in season 2. So
just spoil the fact that she wasn't in season 1.
Yeah, we were
love to be in season 2 though.
Yeah,
Could happen.
Disney wants to use her in literally everything, so put her back in Star Wars. We need it. But the first question I want to ask you specifically, which is what I ask every new person that we have on here, is: do you have a first memory of becoming a Star Wars fan, your first experience with it, and I guess the first time you knew that you fell in love with this universe? If you have a story about that you want to tell real quick.
Yeah, so I didn't watch Star Wars until I was a junior in high school, my best friend had an extra ticket to go see Force Awakens on opening night, and she was just like, hey, do you want to come? And I was like, sure, I'll go see it. It seems like it's like a new thing. And I watched it, and I really enjoyed it. Particularly, I just like really loved Rey. And that was kind of my first, like, I was like, okay, so then after that I watched like all of the original trilogy, and then I didn't watch the prequels until like after all of the Disney movies had come out.
Wow.
But like I remember just like as you know they went on, I just felt like I just fell more in love with like Rey especially. And then like I saw my family would like go see all the movies in theaters, and so we saw Rogue One together in theaters, and that was like so fun. And that's like I remember watching like for that movie, like I remember watching a bunch of like the theories about it beforehand of like who are these characters, and like my favorite like the Rogue One crew was gonna be the Knights of Ren. That was my favorite theory.
I remember that.
I remember that. Yeah, it was
Here's how Jin is
Film
raised.
Theory. Film Theory did a video about it. I remember, like,
yes, it was that exact video I watched, and I was like, I love this theory so much.
Yeah, it seems so plausible.
Yes, because they showed the concept art, and it was like the monk, the sniper, the heavy, and I was like, okay, so these are just like, I'm still convinced that was like there was some connection there that they didn't go in.
Especially because like in the first two sequel movies, they were like, yeah, there's this thing called the Knights of Ren. You gonna show us any of that? No, no, it's fine.
Oh, the Knights of Ren.
But like, was Rogue One like?
They're big in the comics now.
Yeah, I in like Ren and all that. I know it's. I'm not caught up with like.
They're
Crimson
in
Reign
the Lego
and
special, and that's all.
Yeah,
that
Christian
matters.
Slater playing Ren. That's all I need. But like, when you first saw Rogue One, like, did you know right away, like, okay, this is my favorite, and I'm gonna make this my identity on the internet for the next 6 years, or like, was it a gradual thing?
I really liked it. Like I watched it, and then like in college I rewatched it for a class, and I was like, I really enjoy this a lot. And I always said it was like one of my top, but Force Awakens remained my like favorite for a really long time. But then during the pandemic, I had made a couple of Star Wars TikToks because I just was like, oh, mess around, I'll make some TikToks. And one of them started to do well. And then for whatever reason, I was like, I'll watch Rogue One again. And I like sobbed, and then that was like something in my brain chemistry changed, and I just like became experience. Like that was really the turning point for me, like that I was just like, oh, this is the Star Wars movie for me now. But I do remember like D23 in like 2019 when like Diego and Alan were on stage, and they like the Cassian series, and my sister, who is also a huge Rogue One stan, was like so excited, and we would talk about what was going to happen, and we'd be like, oh, you know, Cassian's sister is supposed to be in it. I wonder what's going to happen there. But it was 2020 really just cemented it, and that's also when I started, you know, making TikToks and really getting into the Star Wars fandom.
And now, when did the Rogue One to Taylor Swift like connection? Like when did that start? Like the intertwining there?
Immediately, it happens immediately. But Evermore came out end of 2020, and that's just like that is the Jyn Erso album, in my humble opinion. So
that's the one thing when everyone's like, "Oh yeah, this song is definitely like insert character coded." I'm like, I wish I could figure out how to do that, because I just can never make those connections. But I think it's awesome that other people can. But yeah, now we're all the way back here to Andor, and the series has been, I'd say it's been pretty good. I think this finale was quite good. Wow. Yeah. No, I can't believe it's over, first of all. It's just insane. I know a couple of you were saying that you rewatched it. I really should have. Instead, I watched Knives Out again last night. So priorities. But I can't stop thinking about this finale. And it's not just Conor's boy Brasso screaming at the top of his lungs while hitting fascists with bricks.
Brasso, my fascist killing king.
It's
all time finisher move. Yeah.
I saw that shot, and immediately I was like, okay, I know Connor's gonna be loving this right now.
That was
you could almost say that he has cemented his place as the bestie in Star Wars.
It's not as bad as the Nemec one, which I can't remember off the top of my head that you had, but
what you mean that he's everyone's? Yeah, because I said he's everyone's secret crush.
Yeah.
son of a.
I like Nemec. It's just it was an intrusive thought. Damn it! It was a thought. It came into my head, and I was just like,
Don.
You know, he's my secret crush. He's my secret crush because he was back in this episode.
Yes.
Well, his voice was
Comrade Nemec.
So we were finally like, okay, when are we going to see Cassian like read his manifesto? And he got like the nice audible.com trial, so he got to like listen to him.
I would listen to that audiobook. He just
honestly, yeah.
Sure.
I know there's been like edits of like people like putting out the whole manifesto.
Yeah.
I haven't had the chance to watch them yet, but I've seen like several people like tweet out like that video.
Lynn's posted one from YouTube that was so good. Like it like meshed Andor and Rogue One in like the perfect way. I cried, but I mean, I cry at most things. So, what are you gonna do?
I'm very excited to watch them because I just love how we keep coming back to like all these characters, and it just keeps sticking together. The one thing I'm surprised about is that we got no more like Canary stuff in this finale, because they have that conversation, Maarva and Cassian, last time they talk, like, oh, your sister's dead. Like, stop looking for her. But, like, we're all like, okay, so that means she's not dead. Because why else would you bring that up? And then they never circle back to it. So, like, maybe that'll be a season 2 thing, or maybe that was just, like, we just all read the scene wrong, and, like, his sister is dead. I don't buy into the Clea theory. Like, I think I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I don't buy into it either.
It doesn't work.
Seems too far-fetched.
Yeah, it seems a bit like people were kind of like reaching a little bit on that one. That's just me, though.
For me, it made sense because I was like, oh, they brought up his sister, and Cassian and Casa, and it was Clea and Carrie.
Yeah. And you know what?
Like, I
thought
the whole thing was like, you know, her voice, like the reason her accent changed was like, you know, this, and like kind of like Cassian, she was like kind of trying to assimilate to like Coruscanti culture and like hide where she was from.
And that scene in, I forget the episode, I think it's Announcement, when she's like walking down the hallway, like it's the same Canary music.
Yeah.
So what's going on there?
Yeah, like I still kind of believe it, but then I also am scared because like I'm like, if she's not his sister, that means she can live. But if she is his sister, I feel like that means she has to die.
I think it would be really cool if we got like her, like if she is alive, if we got her perspective, like how she got out of Canary. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, 100%, I guess.
What I was surprised about with this episode was no one major died.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I really thought at some point Brasso was gonna bite it.
Mm-hmm.
I seriously thought Dedra was gonna get hung up like in the French Revolution style.
Gonna get eaten alive by that.
The minute that Syril jumped for the bomb, I thought that was it. Like I thought.
I thought she was done for.
I knew Syril wasn't. I had so many people in my comments being like, he is gonna die, he's not gonna make it. And I was like, he definitely is. Because the way Tony talks. Yeah, then I was like, besides I think Kyle literally posted a video of him shaving his beard saying, hello, Syril. Also, like, the way that Tony talked about him, I was like, there's no way that his arc is finished. Like, there's nothing that they can. I was like, I knew that. Dedra, though, I was like, I don't think she's gonna die. But then when they were taking her away, I was like, oh, God.
Dude, I was like, they're about to hang her up like fucking like they're about to go French Revolution on her ass.
Yeah,
I was like legit scared for her for some reason. I was like, oh God.
Because it's a violent way to go for sure. If that's what they were intending to do with her, really, and it's like, and it's really also, nuts that it's like Syril who saved her.
Acting just was like, Oh shit!
The way she played that whole bit afterwards with Syril after he saved her and they're talking and it's like, I know some people might like, I don't know like how a lot of the fandom feels about like them as a couple. Me, I don't see it personally because
people started shipping them again.
Her whole
the thing I love about Syril is he's so pathetic. That's the thing I love about him.
Literally, like when he was walking in Ferrix with him and Mosk, like with their little hats on, I'm like, you are the most pathetic little shit I've ever seen in my life.
They switched the hats.
Yeah, they switched the
like you could tell he was disappointed with that hat. He was like, I don't like this, and Mosk was like, here, have mine.
Dude, I love Linus Mosk. That guy is
first and foremost.
Ride or die.
I still love him. Last episode with the choppy FaceTime. It's like, I found Andor, and you're just like, what is going on?
And fucking Edie just like sitting in the corner, like listening to everything.
What the hell is that? Like, yeah. So, I gotta ask, because we always talk about how pathetic Syril is on this show. You have fully embraced him as like your like.
I love him.
Yeah. So, like, what is it about Syril that like you immediately were like, I'm gonna stand this man forever?
His pathetic nature and awkward stance has bewitched me. He's just like I think he's one of the most interesting characters that we've ever gotten in Star Wars. I think that the way Kyle plays him is so fascinating. I think that there is something so deeply human about. He's so like deeply insecure and he seeks positive validation from others because he just like he can't like rely on himself for his own self-worth. He always has to rely on others. And like I think that his relationship with his mother is so fascinating, and the way that like you can see because of how she raised him and like how they interact, like he cannot interact with other people in a normal way. He's so awkward. He is never like fully comfortable around people, and the only person he is his mom, who it's never positive. I think it's so interesting how like you really don't know what's gonna happen with him. Like you can see him like slipping further into like the Empire and into this like need for order through what they are providing, but then I could also see him like realizing that like this is not the justice and order he wants, and like flipping to the other side. And like I feel like this episode like really showed that when like he was listening to Maarva's speech versus then when he saved Dedra, like it was that like imperfect encapsulation of like what Tony was saying about like his ideology is not set. And I don't know, I think it's kind of that Kylo Ren thing. I think he's a little pathetic and he's a little insecure and he's not as good as like the big bads, but like, and that there's something about him that I just like, I don't know. Like, yeah, I just love that. And I think like he's so well written and well acted that like it really just draws me to him. Yeah. No, and yeah. I think that Andor has done such a good job making their like villains and antagonists like really relatable, like how a lot of women were really drawn to Dedra because she had this whole thing of like, you know, she's trying to prove herself amongst her male colleagues, but then they flip it and then it's like they're showing you something about yourself, like, you know, that like with Syril, it's like how your need and want for positive validation can lead you to kind of, you know, do bad things in the same way that like, you know, Dedra's need to succeed in this horrible system leads her to sort of oppress those who are like her. You know, it's the white feminism thing. And I love that.
I'll agree.
Sorry, that was really long.
No, it was really good. No, it's really good.
I needed the answer, which is great. But like people have pointed out, like what was so like worked so well about Dedra's character is that they introduced her and she's going up against Imperials like Blevin and like Partagaz, who are like clearly shown to be like more unlikable than she is. Like she's portrayed as like, oh, the person we want to root for there. But then they turn it around and she starts going after characters we like Bix, and we're like, oh, I like you so much. anymore, and like
specifically other women, like someone who the audience is almost certainly on the side of, and who is in a very vulnerable position, like, and like what she basically enables, like on Vix, is awful as well. So it really does kind of like play with your expectations of like where things are going, and it's the same with Syril as well, because like you start off thinking Syril is kind of like is dangerous, that he's this like really like hyper efficient person almost because of the fact that he has all that attention to detail, but he's actually like he is very much someone who he has that little bit of power.
That was pretty pathetic for the first episode on.
Like
did you alter your uniform?
I mean, at that point, I was like, oh man, you're kind of a loser, aren't you? But like, I agree with what Em's saying there, because he is fascinating to watch, because like we don't see characters like that in Star Wars. People who fail a lot, because like he has failed at a lot of things like throughout most of the show. You know, he fails to get Cassian. He folds the minute that like Cassian holds him at gunpoint, at blaster point. He gets more people killed. Even when he tries to like make himself useful to the ISB, he only kind of seems to make Dedra feel really uncomfortable. So like here in the finale, when he saves Dedra from like those people, that's like the first thing he has done that he's achieved something here, and it's like it's kind of noteworthy. So it's kind of like a victory in a way, and the fact that he's kind of like a dark mirror for Cassian in a lot of respects, and we see him do the exact same thing that Cassian does in this episode. They both save these women who have become very important in their lives.
That's the whole thing that's the reason why it was so important that they both had mother figures, because it's the same thing. Both of their mother figures are disappointed in them. They have they had these expectations, they didn't meet them. However, Maarva approaches it with like this kindness and this like, I still love you no matter what, and I believe in you and I am proud of you. Whereas Edie, it's never good enough, and she will always be disappointed by him. And I think that's so good and so interesting. And I think it's the same thing. Like I already brought up Kylo Ren, but I think it's the same. You kind of see the same thing in Syril. They're trying so hard to fit in somewhere where like they don't necessarily belong.
Yeah.
Like
so do you think that? Sorry to interrupt you, but do you think that Syril is eventually going to switch sides, or are you just saying that it's a possibility, or are you like dead set on Syril Karn, rebel leader?
I'm not dead set on it. I think that it would be interesting, and I think that there's a lot there, especially about him working with Cassian and how you sort of build trust with the people that you directly hurt. Because I think that's a lot of things like that we haven't really seen with an Imperial defector before, where like they really have to gain the trust of like people that they hurt. However, I do think that, and like I would like to see it, but like I also I'm not mad if he stays a villain, because I also think that there is a lot to say about him as a villain, and I think that he could be really interesting as someone like in the ISB. I think either way for his character it would be fascinating, and like it says a lot. Like it's either way, it's kind of, I think it's just a different message, but I think it's a good message either way. But I just think like I was just so much on the defection because Tony Gilroy was so much on like Syril is so uninformed and like his ideology isn't set, so like that's why I was thinking that, plus his like just general affection for Imperial defectors, that like I was thinking like, oh, if there is a character in this story right now who could be an Imperial defector, it would be him.
Yeah,
we had because at least
especially because we're going to be like, because from what he's said about like season 2, it sounds like they're going to go even further into like setting up the events of Rogue One. And I mean, like a natural point to set up Rogue One would be to show like for instance, like Bodhi Rook, like, you know, that's what kicks off the whole events of that story, is like an Imperial defector. So it would be really interesting to see,
because pilot,
because the cargo pilot, it's a trap. The pilot.
Hold on,
but like,
hold on.
Porgullet.
Okay, I had to.
No, so like, so because this thing with Syril, I don't personally see Syril going all the way around to like redemption and being part of the rebellion. But then again, I didn't see Kylo Ren redeeming himself and becoming Ben Solo again. And I'm always open to like the idea of like the writers finding a way to make such a seemingly unbelievable transition happen, because like you wouldn't have thought like Agent Callus at the start of Rebels, that he would go all the way around, because he seems kind of like crazed and like really dead set on taking them down.
So many people I saw being like, oh well, like he's not like Callus at all. I was like, except if you go back and you just watch season 1 or 2 of Rebels, he's exactly like Callus. It is the same what for order and just it's just Syril is less effective at his job than Callus is.
Because like you watch the episode where like he fights Zeb, and you're like, my takeaway was like, this guy's nuts. He's like laughing and like yelling
him
at
with the
Zeb.
Death of his people. That's so fucked.
Exactly, and he almost kills Zeb in that thing, and yet he's still, thanks to one episode, like because of one episode, his whole trajectory gets changed. So it's like it just speaks to like to good writing at the end of the day. And this series on the whole, you know, we'll probably cover this more when we talk in like the series review, but like this series has had incredibly strong writing with sort of really, really nuanced understanding of all of its characters and themes. And like I could see Tony Gilroy like actually managing to make such a transition like that work. But to just go back to the events of the finale with Syril, I was really impressed at like how he didn't feel shoehorned in, because there were so many characters that they had to work into that whole thing, and they do that really cool thing with Maarva's speech where each of them are changed in turn, and I even feel like Syril maybe kind of takes on a little bit of that to a degree.
We saw Luthen like switch, or at least start to really question everything just by the shots we see of him.
Yeah,
which I thought was great.
Said about Luthen's speech like a couple episodes ago, and yet here Maarva's speech comes along, and it's really funny that Luthen's speech is like really big now, because like Maarva's speech then comes along and kind of like shows that what he was saying is kind of bullshit, because like for lack of a better term, because like yes, the whole I'm burning my life for like a future that no one else can see, it's right in principle, but like the way he's been going around organizing rebellion, it's not been for like a sustainable organized idea of what rebellion is. And what Maarva does instead is she gets the community together, and that is what is dangerous, because once everyone is joined by a newfound sense of community and togetherness and this shared understanding, that's when it starts to become more dangerous for the Empire. Because yes, Luthen is sort of making strides, but he's kind of doing, in a sense, what he said Cassian was, like just sort of settling for like little scraps of like attacks against the Empire. So he's a lot more like Cassian than he thinks, which is why it's really cool that Maarva's speech kind of starts to turn him around on that. And it's also just like cool to see her like embolden Brasso, for instance, to like literally beat the crap out of stormtroopers with her ashes. She'd be so proud of him for that. She'd just be like, I can imagine her like watching from the afterlife, like cackling with glee at Brasso, just like fulfilling her wishes.
Mo, I feel like you've been trying to say something for a little bit, so if you have any thoughts, you go right ahead.
Listen, you guys have wonderful things to say, but I was just going to go back to like the thing that's so interesting about Syril is that like you don't know his motivations. Like he's not as founded in the Empire or even the rebellion. Like we see Dedra like in the ISB, like she's memorizing the mission statements, like she is with the Empire all the way. But Syril, like he really just wants to be seen. He doesn't really like the Empire, and you see it when he's listening to Maarva's speech. Like those words, like it's almost like he wants to like the Empire because Dedra's there and Dedra like gives him that validation, but like he's listening to that speech and it's like he's kind of second guessing himself. And I think that's so interesting. I think season 2 will be like really, really good for him to see where he goes. Like it does, to me, it doesn't matter like if he like ends up rebelling or if he stays with the Empire. Like I want to see where he ends up.
Yeah. So I think people were like, oh, he's an Empire fanboy, but I was like, but it like, I feel like the motivations aren't like he believes just so deeply in the Empire's cause. I mean, I think he does a little, because once again, like, he does really, like, he wants order. And he wants order, like, and you can see that in his own life with, like, the way that he dresses and, like, you know, the tailoring and stuff. But, like, at the same time, like we were saying, it's so much of, he is internally motivated by, like, positive validation and what others think of him and if others pay attention to him. So, like, if the Empire isn't giving him that,
he might get out of there.
Yeah, he might, and someone else does. Like, it's easy. I could easily see him flipping. I don't think he's so firm.
Yeah, he also seems like the type to me that's very easily influenced. So, like, that's probably how he got so knee deep in the Imperial propaganda. It's like he was just like, oh, this, and he was like, I need order. Like, that's exactly what I need.
Even
so
his
like,
want for order, like, I was just thinking this right now, like, could even be like a trauma response to Edie. Like, Edie is so like, everything is clean, everything is tidy, everything has order, and that could just be him, like, I don't know, like, built up trauma.
Yeah,
look, like, he's got clone trooper figures in his room, so, like, I mean, that's two of us. So, like, come on, Syril, like, stop being a fascist.
And, like, when you talk about, like, the trauma response, like, I guess it's just, like, their headcanon, but Kyle and Catherine, I guess, kind of made up that, like, essentially, like, Cyril's father, like, left them when he was young, and that's part of, like, Edie's kind of, like, why she is the way she is. And, like, I'm interested too, if Cyril's order, like, that's part of it, is like his want for control based on the fact, like, he could not control his father leaving.
And his mom just wanting to control him so much.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, very much so. And I feel like that's kind of like, that plays into the whole theme of, like, authority and, like, how the need for control is itself unstable. It's like Nemec says, authority is brittle.
It's unnatural.
And that's why I think Syril seems to be going through something of a he goes through kind of a Sisyphean journey in this with, like, you know, building to get Cassian, then failing, then having to, like, build himself back up again to the point where he saves Dedra. And so, like, maybe this is what his arc is going to be throughout the second season, like, you know, learning that his need for control, that his desire for control, it's not what he needs to truly flourish as a human being. It's holding him back and putting him in this, like, constantly unstable place, as we see with a lot of the other characters, and the instability extends to Dedra because she feels so in control the whole time, and yet throughout this finale, the whole finale is, like, reminding Dedra just how not in control she is, because, like, she's been masterminding the whole Steerguard operation with Krieger. That just goes off without her. She doesn't have any control over it. She misses out on being able to, like, keep people alive for information. And then the whole thing on Ferrix, which she felt so in control of, it completely disintegrates before her eyes, and it's only because of, like, someone who seems a little almost too interested in her that she makes it out alive. Like, if not for Syril, she would have died 100%.
And, like, and the fact that her decisions are the reason why things fall apart. Her saying that they're gonna keep the air, or, like, the airways open because they want Cassian to be able to come. They're not going to have snipers on the roof because they want to take him alive. Then makes it harder for the Empire to regain their control of the citizens of Ferrix, and what makes everything fall apart. Like, she basically, like, in her want for order, she, like, engineered her own downfall.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah.
Also, we gotta start having the conversation about Death Troopers. Are they really worth all the hype? Because every time they show up, they just don't do anything, and I'm just like, like, because you see the shot of, like, Dedra with the Death Troopers, I'm like, oh, shit's going down, and then they like go up the hallway once.
They get fucking whacked.
Listen, because they killed Lyra, all they deserve is to die.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Lyra back from the dead.
They murdered
That's the only
Jin's
thing they've
mother.
ever done.
Exactly. Like the next time they appeared was in Mando, and then Mando just like Din just mops the floor with them completely. And every time they've appeared since then, they've just kind of like
joking Rebels too.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. And then I think a few of them,
they were pretty good at scare.
There are a few of them turn up as alongside some Purge troopers in Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan killed them, I think.
Particular.
I guess if Crosshair is supposed to be the kind of first iteration of a Death Trooper, he's like semi-effective.
I mean, I do love Crosshair, so I will.
Maybe it's like a Gregor situation, you know, like he doesn't teach them all of his stuff, so he can still be useful.
He's like, I want to be the best, so I can't teach you everything.
Yeah.
I had a point and then I completely lost it. So
about like it was about Death Troopers, wasn't it? Like, how are they really worth all the hype?
I was going to segue it into something else, and then I just lost my train of thought. I remember now. I think the one thing that worked really well about the Ferrix uprising, while we're kind of just like going back and forth between stuff, is the fact that not all the Imperials were stormtroopers in that scene. I think made it work so much better. The fact that they were like just riot troops, that we got to see their faces, which I think this show has done such a good job with the putting a face to tyranny and putting a face to who the villains are, to where like the scene still would have had, I think, a great amount of impact if it was them rebelling against all these faceless stormtroopers. But the fact that we get to see them, and then we get to see the people that are doing this stuff and are knocking B2 over and end up killing the...
Bruh, when they knocked B2 over, I was like, I'm about to...
wrap.
I can't believe that guy didn't... I can't believe that guy didn't get killed. That was insane.
Well, the
he got kicked in the chest, though. That was wonderful.
He got killed, but we don't really get to see how.
I think he's still alive.
I think he's alive.
Is he? I thought we.
Yeah, I think they show another shot of him with like his hair really disheveled.
Yeah, it's like after he gets through the line.
Yeah, he just kind of stands up later.
I saw a shot of him just on the ground, like dead. So
no, he's like crawling through. Or I don't know. I feel like I've rewatched it a few times, and I don't remember dying. But
I don't.
I think he's crawling, and I think he like. I want to say, isn't he the guy that's like open fire, but he's like all the way in the back?
Yep.
Exactly. And he's another example of how like the authority is brittle thing, because you know the moment the crowd starts, like the moment there's any kind of like attack beyond like people just like hitting and fighting back against the sort of riot shields, he immediately just goes with like, oh yeah, just start shooting them all.
I meant the I don't remember his name, but the guy that snitches on Brasso.
Oh,
and the guy was drunk.
Nurchi.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He dies.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. He went away. Exactly.
He's gone. The ISB spy that was.
He had to be a little chismoso and was like looking through the window, and then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exploded.
I knew something was up immediately. It was like, have another round on me. I'm like, this guy's up to no good. And then
like the moment, the smirk on his face when he walked back to the bar, I was like, oh yeah, you're totally gonna like try and betray them all, aren't you, Nurchi? It's like, and like, I'd like to point out, Cassian paid him back. He gave Bix the money.
Literally, that's what I didn't like. I was like, I feel like he doesn't have the motivation to like want to kill Cassian. Like he got his money back. I don't.
I guess he does ask. They say he's like, oh, I want a way off too. Like when he says, I want like this. So I'm wondering if a part of his motivation was just wanting to leave Ferrix.
Yeah, like he seems he doesn't seem to be kind of part of that community, and that's kind of like what the big like theme of this episode, and like the kind of thing it's exploring, like the power of community on Ferrix, and like the only people who sort of suffer, who sort of wind up like not benefiting from community are those who aren't part of it. Like you have Nurchi, who like doesn't care about that community and just wants to like get out of there. And you know, Cassian was sort of like that. He was like Nurchi, he just wanted to get out of there. But like the minute he starts embracing that he is a part of that community, he's able to like get everyone he cares about off the planet, which is what Nurchi wanted. But like Cassian's able to do for all these people he cares about what Nurchi wanted to do for himself, because Cassian accepts that he's a part of that community now, and you know, he accepts, like, you know, he has gone on this journey of, like, you know, being kind of self-interested and just out for himself to being a part of this rebellion, actually, like, wanting to change the galaxy for the better. And I love that he saved everyone as well. I love that he got Bix, that he got Brasso, and he even got that I can't remember the kid's name, who was like the whose dad was like strung up. Yeah, Wilman Pack. Yeah, he even got him off the planet as well, and I love that, because again, it's like, because I've talked a few times before about, like, how I love the Last Jedi's idea of, like, you know, it's how you win, not fighting what you hate, but saving what you love, and Cassian does that here. Like, he's the moment, like, because when he comes back to Ferrix, you almost like think, oh, he's going to be there with the whole crowd. He's going to be like messing shit up and killing Imperials. But no, he comes back there. He finds out that Bix is in the hotel, and the first thing he does is immediately plan on how he's going to get her out. And the fact that he does, despite everything that's been done to her, and despite the fact that she's even scared of leaving, which kind of gave me, you know, Theon vibes from Game of Thrones. But, like, the fact that he succeeds is, like, it's really moving, you know, amidst all of the death and chaos that happens in this episode, and, like, the more kind of, like, murky ground that this series ends on. It's like, it's really optimistic and sweet that Cassian succeeds at saving those he loves.
Now, real quick, I just want to touch on something. You said Cassian saved Bix, right?
Yeah.
That's you're damn right he did. You're damn
Bix
right
lived.
He did. I can finally breathe again, because I was just so worried the whole episode that they were going to
so relieved
from me. And especially when she was, like, kind of fighting, like, Cassian, like, bring her. I'm like, don't have her get randomly sniped in the riot, and then she made it out. Which I hope this isn't a case of, like, oh yeah, I'll come back, and then he never sees them again. Like, I hope that we get to actually see the characters again, because I love all of them so much. And I just, every time they kept, like, cutting to Bix during Maarva's speech and getting to see her, like, finally start talking and just repeating a lot of the stuff that Maarva was saying, it got me right here. And as someone that, like, my connection to Bix is very similar to M's connection to Syril, just immediately I connected with the character. And the fact that she made it out, and, like, hopefully we're still going to have more of her in this show, which, like, you have someone like Dedra Arjona, like, you got to have her back in there.
I think she's
absolutely.
Building, or, like, she's in London right now. Like, people have figured out that she is going to be in season 2.
But, like, I'm very
relieved.
interested now in seeing her over the course of the timeline that season 2 is going to be in, of, like, getting through this trauma, getting back to be able to, like, who she was, and getting to see who this new version of Bix is going to be. But I just love the like, if the Brasso B2 Bix group, like, that kind of, like, if that ends up becoming, like, a splinter cell of the rebels, like, that would be like really, really cool.
That would be so cool. For sure. Like, because it gave me dude,
like, I need Brasso to be a rebellion leader. Like, it just needs to happen.
Just the minute that, like, Cassian shows up on Ferrix,
all of season 2.
The minute he shows up on Ferrix and he's like, where's Bix? And just immediately we see him, like, okay, I'm going to, like, sacrifice everything to make sure she gets out of here alive. And just seeing him infiltrate the hotel, I was like, about damn time. Because for the last 4 episodes, I've been saying, like, Cinta, you better get in there and you better save my girl one of these days. And it never happened. So Cassian finally coming in there and doing it, I got very, very excited, and it was just a great moment. I don't know if it's something about Cassian's blaster, but I just have such, like, it's so satified of, like, the way it sounds, the way he, like, always draws it. I'm just like, every time Cassian,
the little, like,
reload
clip.
The clip,
I mean, I love it because it's like, it's a Briar pistol, and it's a callback to, like, Dark Forces and Jedi Knight, which was, like, my era of Star Wars games. So I loved seeing it on. I love that he's kept using it the whole time on screen. It's awesome.
Yeah, it really reminded me, like, this scene, Conor, you know, it reminded me a lot of Mandalorian when Din was saving Grogu.
Yeah.
Because everything has to call back to Star Wars, because that's the only thing I've
This thing
seen.
called Star Wars.
Yeah, it really reminded me of 1977 when George Lucas made this film, which apparently, I mean, let's just talk everything that we've talked about so far. It's crap because there's screws and bricks in it. Like, what the hell is this? That's not Star Wars.
Oh, I knew it was coming. Yeah.
Oh my God! I see
But
those
again,
every single
there's
time.
no, you know what? You know what's also not in Andor?
Easter eggs.
Easter eggs.
Well,
No
actually,
Easter eggs.
no, they
No
tweeted it.
No Easter
Star
eggs.
Wars
Not a
tweeted. They
single
said, "Oh, look at what are your favorite Easter eggs in Andor?" And I said, "Your favorite what now?" Like,
No
I was
Easter eggs.
told that they weren't in there. But every single time I see that clip, like I thought Andor, we need a Grievous show instead. I'm like, oh my God. And then I see the bricks thing. It's just, this is all I hear when I see those goddamn videos. Like,
It's just that Megamind meme.
Yeah, no bitches. Like, I hate being that guy.
I don't know if it's the same
one,
but my friend sent me this, like, it like popped up on his YouTube, and it was, I think it's her, and she was saying how Ferrix is like the most boring planet and that she hates when they go there, and I was like, what a terrible take. I cannot relate. Because
that is unbelievable.
Like the most beautiful community I've ever seen in Star Wars.
Yeah, it's got such a strong sense of community that makes it feel like more in that real world thing of like we're seeing everyday characters in this story. We're not seeing like Jedi, or we're not seeing Sith. We're just seeing everyday men like on the ground, going to work, having this sense of community, and then them rising up against this continued oppression that invades their planet. And some of them are able to get out of there, some of them aren't, but they all are able to have this one moment together of rallying against this oppressive evil, which I think is just so powerful. And when we get more and more into Maarva's speech, there's just so much to take away from it, especially like contrasting that with Nemec's manifesto. And Mo, I just feel like every time we have you on for like the big speech episodes, because we had you on for,
yeah, I don't know.
We had you on for Luthen and Saw's first one. We had you on for Kino's big moment, and now this. And so we're just putting you through the trauma ringer, because we had you on for I Can't Swim, and now we have you on for this. So
what you didn't know is that I've been planning this the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, you told me that Vetch was going to have a post-credit scene, and he didn't. So
yeah, I'd be lying.
Where was Vetch?
What can I say?
Mo is number one spreader of Andor misinformation.
Yeah, I'd be lying.
I know it.
I love it. But where's Vetch? Like,
where is
he?
I didn't see him at all.
Somebody said that, I think it was Austin, was like, oh, I think maybe they, if anybody, like, they might have killed him because, like, if the Empire was going to kill anyone first, it would be the aliens. And I did notice, besides Vetch, there wasn't a lot of...
I hope
it's not Vetch. Why would you tell me that?
I'm just glad they didn't kill
Austin.
What's his name again? Pack, his first
Wellman.
name. Yeah, I'm glad they didn't kill his dad on screen, because I was still hoping he'd make it out alive, because like a couple episodes ago, Dedra was like, "Yeah, just hang him," and I was like, "Okay, well maybe it hasn't happened yet," and then it happened. Oops. But it's just everything about this just worked so well, and as we talked about earlier, just the constant shots, like cutting back and forth, like while Maarva's talking to all the characters that this is affecting, and just seeing that rebellious spirit brew in them. And especially like we've all been having this conversation all season about like, when is, it looks like we lost them for a second, but
the Empire got to her.
The Empire got to her. Dedra got her.
We have to go save her.
So sorry.
Yeah.
Sometimes my Wi-Fi will just like randomly go out, so we move locations. Hopefully, it'll be better here.
The Empire got to you.
Feel that?
Yeah,
that's what we said.
They were mad about the Vetch. They did not want me to talk about Vetch.
No, it's like, get her out there. We can't have her reveal our secrets.
I mean,
Tony Gilroy just hears it. It's like, wait, Vetch. Oh shit, I forgot to put him in the finale. We gotta
I mean, to go off topic for a bit, depending on what like phone company you have, you could always get like a little like hotspot device.
Yeah.
That's like, yeah, that's what I have right now.
We recently got better Wi-Fi, but it's still not like it's on and off in my room. So the office is usually better. So
look, we once I lost my Wi-Fi like right at the end of an episode when we were doing the sign off, and it was out for like 4 straight hours. So I had to like come back and like end the stream manually on my phone while Conor took care of it, and we had a guest on and everything. It just was not a Jared kind of took over for a second. But what I was
it was the custody battle.
Yeah, it was the custody battle.
Jared made his bid for control right there of the podcast.
Took over my show. Our show. But I do love that we've had like throughout this whole season the build into, okay, when is Cassian going to like fully embrace the rebellion? And I feel like it happened in this scene.
It did happen, but I feel like it's not like he's there, but I never felt like he was fully committed quite yet, because like he still gave Luthen the option to kill him and be like, yeah, man, I don't want this life behind me.
Did he though?
Yeah, I think the kill me or take me an option was because he knew. I think it was to show his commitment. I think it was time to show Luthen, like, this is the only path that I have forward. If I'm not with the rebellion, then, you know, what am I going to do?
And if Luthen really wanted to kill Cassian, he just immediately, as soon as he shows up, would have just been like, boom, there you go.
Yeah,
like,
I think it also establishes like trust, because like Luthen did go there to kill him. So he's like, you can kill me or you can take me in.
Yeah, exactly that, and it's such a good scene because it really kind of like
by Luthen.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing the series ends on, also, and it just shows growth. It literally ends on like a moment of growth. That's
Diego
looks
cool. So young. Like, did they shoot that first? Because he looks really young in that shot.
I think Tavi was saying they shot like all the Ferrix stuff first.
Okay,
and that would make sense because I remember that's when they were showing like in the clip or in like the reel it was they were like, we built this whole city block, and that was Ferrix, and he was also practicing his dodging of the swinging things in the first 3 episodes. But he looked like, I was like, oh yeah, I mean, he looks really similar to how he does in Rogue One, but yeah, that I've compared like from his one scene in Rogue One to this, I was like, no, he looks younger.
Yeah.
It's something about the eyes.
I think, and it's also just like the slight scruff / clean shaven Cassian is something I'm falling in love with, because we only have full beard Cassian in like the first 3 episodes. I do love full beard Cassian.
That's still his best look for me.
The scruff.
I was kind of the same because he looked cool. He looked really cool when he did. Yeah.
But I guess to real quickly just pivot real quick back to our off Ferrix for a moment and go to Mon Mothma's story, because we only see her for a couple scenes.
Whoa!
But
no,
we see
girl boss.
She did it. I can't believe she let that little like mini MAGA get married off.
So cool. I thought you were talking about the driver, but yeah,
but we'll talk about the driver first. Yeah,
like that was a really cool thing, because like they really built that up through the series, and like I didn't know what she was doing at first, and then when I kind of realized, like when he started, when she asked him to give her like a moment, I was like, yeah, hang on, like but she doesn't trust that guy, and then I went, oh,
yeah,
because then it just becomes clear, because like of course she knows, she's very intelligent, she knows that this guy is immediately going to just like snoop in on the conversation, and then like all of a sudden now she's laying a trail of breadcrumbs for Perrin to take the fall for her for what's going on with her money, which is like, that is kind of morally murky, because we may not like Perrin. Perrin may be like a dick, for lack of a better term, but he hasn't technically done anything yet, and that's what's going to be like really interesting to see if like he really does wind up taking the fall for like Mon's rebel activities.
The thing is, though, if that happens, the assumption is then she would just my assumption is they would probably write something in where like she pardons him once she becomes like chancellor. Like once everything falls out. Like you can't if the assumption is Perrin is the rebel, my assumption is like during or after the war, they kind of have to be like, oh, we have to let him out because you set him up for the fall, but everyone thinks he's a rebel. That's weird if we just leave him in prison because you don't like it.
Listen, Mon saw the cards laid in front of her. She saw that there was money missing and that he's low-key a gambler, and she said, if the shoe fits.
It's so smart.
I don't know if you've seen that just amazing fan art that was going around Twitter the other day of like Mon Mothma with
the mask.
Yeah, the mask.
So good.
It was just,
that was so cool.
On display in this scene. And I just getting to see like her, like you said, lay the trap for Perrin, make them think like, okay, so this will kind of be a way to cover up all these rebel funds, which is just a great way of doing it. But then getting to see the thing with Davo's kid, which first of all, I just got to say, immaculate outfit for Mon Mothma during that scene. I got to get that out of the way right now. But dude, like,
she's got the drip.
She does, in fact. I mean, Perrin had it in this episode too, even though I can't stand that motherfucker.
I hate his hair, but
his hair
it's just because he has money. That is the only reason why he looks good.
It's like, but you take the money away, like, he would look far less impressive. Exactly.
And I know he wears the most rancid cologne.
Oh, 100%.
And he wears too much of it too.
Yeah.
He walks in the room and you're like, God.
You're like, oh.
Yeah, he's just like
the Axe body spray, and he's like,
oh no.
Oh,
not the Axe body spray.
Yeah. That tracks. That really does track for sure.
Yeah.
Like, I was shocked when she went through it.
Yeah, I can't believe she's. Well, I mean, I still feel like I was hoping, because that Vel conversation last episode was like, okay, Vel swoop in and do something, but no, it looks like the little Elon Musk enthusiast is gonna get married off, and I just.
I think like part of it is like Lita is doing it because like that's what her parents want, and I mean it is that connection to Chandrilan culture that we've seen Lita kind of yearn for, but it's interesting too because it's not even like Perrin seems to even really want that for her.
Yeah, I don't even think he cares.
It's not that it's because it's not like I can't see him being pro arranged marriage with the marriage that he is in.
Yeah,
like, he doesn't want to be there either.
He's like, you need this.
I think it's like sad that like Lita is like seems to be doing this. I mean, I think she like part of it is like, yeah, it's like kind of it seems like she's probably like, oh, my parents are like finally like connecting me back to our culture, and like they want for them what they have, what like they want me to like be like them, but it's like they don't.
Yeah, no, they don't.
Yeah,
they want her to have a better life, if anything.
Yeah, exactly.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, yeah, I was gonna say you go first. Yeah.
I love both of those scenes with Mon because like I love Mon Mothma and I love Genevieve O'Reilly, but like I feel like Mon is usually on like a higher horse, especially like in the episode with Luthen where she's like kind of like upset that he's using money that she gave him to like do rebellious things. And now, like, these scenes are like, she's explicitly now getting her hands dirty. Like, now she has to do that. And I love that.
It's also that, like, hard where, like, she clearly has to ride the line of, like, you imagine part of her motivation for, you know, this rebellion is being able to provide Lita with a better future. Yeah. And so now she has to walk this line of, like, do I give her a better future now and sacrifice being able to do all I want for the rebellion, or do I put her in this and then eventually I can give her a better world to live in?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm fascinated to see how they...
just added to that, it could be like, I can't remember if it was either you, Andrew, or my other co-host, Jared. I always get your guys' analysis mixed up all the time. But like, it was one of you that said something like, part of why Mon wants to just go with this arranged marriage is to be like, okay, but this was before this episode, before we thought that like Perrin would, before, you know, she would have Perrin be the scapegoat of just, she goes through with this arranged marriage to help cover up her tracks even though it's like morally not right for her, it's like that thing she needs to do. Or, you know, did she like risk it and try to get her in the rebellion, cut off the marriage, but like maybe risk the Empire like finding out about. But now it's just more moral than anything, because it's like Perrin's the fall guy for all this.
That was not me that said it this time, but I appreciate the great analysis.
So like,
I wish I said that.
Oh yeah. I
was just going to say like.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, like, every single episode that this Lita thing gets further and further and further, because I've been saying this for weeks, is that my hope that Lita will eventually be like a big figure in when we get more like sequel trilogy era content, and she's like a big leader in the New Republic. It's dying every single episode, and now I think it's done. She's just destined to be the Real Housewives of Chandrilla for the rest of her life. And
oh my god!
I also wonder if part of Mon's motivation is the idea that like, if she gets married, she can send Lita back to Chandrilla, and that also protects her.
Get her away from what's going to be going on, because we know
get her away from Coruscant, from the Watchful Eye of someone like Palpatine, and because Chandrilla kind of seemed like it was always sort of a safe place during the war.
I think they have enough money to like fend off the Empire.
Well, none of us, I don't think, thought that Chandrilla would be like a MAGA light planet.
No, unfortunately.
We're all like, it's gonna be like Alderaan or Naboo.
It's like Lita.
It's like the anti-Alderaan. But like, so the thing I was going to add to that is that the thing that we're also kind of like, we want to factor in as well, is like Mon is like lost my train of thought. Because I was going to mention the Rebels episode, because obviously season 2 is going to like be jumping a year every 3 episodes, and one thing that seems to be of note is that that's going to put it at a crossover with Mon Mothma's defection from the Senate, leaving the Senate, which we see dramatized in Rebels, but we only see a bit of it because we don't see how Mon initially gets off Coruscant and how she initially, escapes there. And it's been my kind of running theory that we will see that, because we kind of need a strong resolution to this. And I feel like that's what's kind of coming, like, the idea of, is she going to be able to like salvage something of her family, and like what is it going to be that eventually causes her to like, because I think it's been documented somewhere in canon, like the breaking point for her that causes her to just announce that she's part of the rebellion. But I'll be really interested to see if they cover that at all, because I feel like they need to have a strong finish for Mon's story, and it'd be interesting to see what happens with her family as well, like you've both said, because like, with what's going on with Lita, I think it's very possible, like what you said, that she is only doing this to like kind of connect with her mum, and I could see that being a very fraught conversation between the two, like, oh, I was just doing this to impress you, to connect with you, we've been so distant, and then like Mon can't even explain why, because of what's been going on with rebellion. But it's just there's so many avenues that this can go in, which is really cool. Even with like the presupposed, the pre-planned ending for Mon that we know is coming, and it's really good writing so that even though this is a prequel and where the characters are going to end up, there's all these possibilities that could still happen with them. It's just really cool.
It just, every time someone uses, I was like, oh, Cassian Andor series, we know what happens with them. I'm like, that you can say that about literally almost every Star Wars story. I was like, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Dude,
we know what happens with him.
Like, that's the nature of Star Wars storytelling. It always goes back and forth. It always goes back and forth. It's
it's like, I think more Star Wars stories.
How have you not got it with the program by now?
People are just
like most Star Wars stories they have at least one person who's gonna we know is gonna die in a different story. Like, I think that's been more Star Wars than like it hasn't been, if I'm being totally honest there. Yeah.
So I think literally the only thing that we're like, oh, we don't know who's gonna die, is like the High Republic.
Yeah, exactly.
That's literally except even then we actually know, because Yoda is it.
Exactly.
And we know how Yoda will die.
I think out of everything, we just know now. It's like whenever people have these complaints, it's like we can tell who likes Star Wars because lightsaber go burr, and who likes it because of the storytelling in the universe and all that stuff. Sorry, I died for a second. But I agree with where you're going with this, Don, about how they should kind of like link Rebels season 3, I think it was, and Andor season 2 when we get Mon proclaiming like and starting the Rebel Alliance. That I think it's coming. What I also like, my one big hope for season 2 is that they finally start to integrate Mon's storylines with the rest of the cast, because I feel like at some point Mon and Cassian, like their stories have to intertwine. Like we've seen her interact with Luthen and with Vel, but it still seems like it's separate compared to everything else. And I think it works really well. Like it doesn't feel like, oh, we have to just tag on Mon stuff in this episode because we got to tell her story. Like they're integrating it really well, but I think they just need to like have that moment where whether it's an arc or something where Cassian and Mon Mothma like
I think it's
share
gonna
the
be
screen.
Yavin 4.
Yeah.
I think it's
because
gonna be.
I mean, we know they have a pre-established relationship in Rogue One. And there is something I do want to point out when we get to the very end, but we got some more stuff to talk about because that post-credit scene there was no vetch, but there was something else in there.
There was
Mo and her fake Andor rumors, which wasn't there one that like did get some traction the other day?
Wait, what was it?
Yeah, which one was that one?
I think it was the first one it was the Eye, and I said it was going to be like an hour and 30 minutes. People like actually believed it, and then ever since then, people have come.
Pretty sure that's how long my first surgery was, but I don't know off the top of my head.
The episode was called The Eye, and
it was about you. Yeah.
Conor.
But I guess now we can switch back to I almost called it Scarif, but Ferrix. The one thing that, because when we
the planet that doesn't get destroyed. Well, it does.
We don't know that.
Doesn't.
We don't know that. We don't know that.
In my heart of hearts, it doesn't get destroyed.
Yeah. They're going to Scarif, but during Maarva's speech, there was this. I saw a tweet and it was like, "Oh, Tony Gilroy said like Disney allowed them to do all but one thing."
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, Maarva saying "fuck the Empire." Do you think that's legit, or do you think?
Oh no, I'm pretty sure it's because like
I
think it was either M or someone else tweeted about it, and like you can like send in a screenshot, like a screen cap of like "fight the Empire." You could kind of tell, I think at least, that she was saying "fuck," but like they just thought they just like.
I think, and I think it tracks because a lot of people, we were theorizing because he was like, it wasn't the shit and it was something else. So then people thought it was Val's Cinta, but then he said, no, they actually didn't care about that either. So then it's like, okay, what else happened that like Disney wouldn't approve?
I just want to see the like security footage of Tony at Lucasfilm. Like, please let me have one fuck in the show. It'll be really good.
Like, technically, these are PG-13.
Yeah, we got the most Scottish shit of all time in this one in Andor. So I mean, anything's possible.
It's like, come on, like it's basically like the Wolverine scene in First Class. It's like, just the one. Just the one. It would have fit.
I'll bet you they probably filmed both of those lines. Like they filmed "fuck the Empire" and then "fight the Empire," but like it just from what I think.
I just imagine that they just very lazily 80-yard over like fight the Empire.
I feel like they recorded it and she says "fuck the Empire" because her mouth doesn't really match up with "fight." Like it looks like she's saying a different syllable, and then they were like, "Oh, they said no." So can you go back?
I need to go back and watch.
They were like, they were trying to be like, we only filmed one scene. We had to take it, and they're like, "Get Fiona Shaw on the phone. We'll dub it over right now."
Exactly. It's like we'll send her. We'll send her the little mic. We'll send her the ring light. Just re-record it, please.
Yeah, man. And then like just.
I mean, you are allotted one F-bomb per PG-13 movie. So like, come on now.
Yeah.
Where's the theatrical cut of the Andor finale where we get the uncensored one?
It was the director's cut.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the Gilroy cut.
The Gilroy cut.
I mean, all of our things. When we were talking about Mon Mothma, I just like it came back in my mind that like the first few weeks where we were like, because of the scene, it's like, well, when is Sly Moore gonna show up? And then meanwhile, it's like Tony Gilroy is probably like, Pablo just snuck that in the script. Like, I don't even know what this character is.
Yeah.
Why are they talking about this? Like, it's gonna like, but like that was a big talking point for like the first couple weeks. Was
it reminds me of this guy from Star Wars.
I don't know. Man.
Well, I guess he was saying like
Star Wars.
We're really big Star Wars fans. Like, I think the guy who did the prison arc was a really big Star Wars fan. And I don't know what the writers' levels were. So, like, I definitely see it as, like, yeah, maybe the writer of that episode was like,
let me pepper this in.
Let me pepper this in. Whoever peppered stuff in, I will say, whoever peppered stuff in was a very big Solo fan. There are several points of Solo.
We got Mud Trooper helmets in this episode.
The Hounds.
Yeah, the Hounds, him fighting on Mimbom. There's like a Kessel reference. The wine glasses from Solo, you can see them on Alzani.
Yeah. And then those glasses that Kira drinks, those ones are seen on Aldani.
Aldani. Yeah. Like some people were theorizing that some of the stuff in Luthen's shop was from Dryden's collection.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and Liv had this whole theory that basically Kira was like selling it or leaving it with Luthen.
I could see her doing
that. Makes so much sense.
I could see that, yeah. Well, it would make sense as like a one-shot comic.
Cook some of this stuff. It's just like, oh yeah, here's this ship on this planet. Fuck it, I'll take some of this stuff.
I hate saying this as like, before you two came on here, the resident Solo fan of the podcast, but like, how much of that do you think was them being like, oh, I love Solo, I gotta pepper this in here, and how much of that was, let's just like look in the prop department of stuff we have left that would be the cheapest to redo?
Props maybe, but I think when you get to the point where you're referencing Mimbam, it's
that,
like that.
Yeah, it's like
that is like there is no way that they just were like, what's some random planet people can fight on? Like there had to be. I think there was some significance to it.
And then a million fanfic writers at the same time just started writing Han Cassian war fanfics at the
exact fantastic.
Moment. I came close.
When will Valance meet Cassian and Andor?
Everyone's doing that, whereas like meanwhile I'm off like writing a fanfic of how like Cassian has to stop off at Tatooine and meets Obi-Wan for like a conversation.
Yeah, we had that. But the Valance one
was my crackpot theory.
That is a story for your co-host to tell another time. Well, okay, so real quickly. What is that like of like being like stuck in the middle of two Valance conversations and you're like, who is this Valance fella?
I know way too much about him now. But now I get to the point where I know when they're gonna say something. I was saying something about, I'd be really interested in seeing Clea, and Luthen is like Clea as like his ward and like having this sort of like relationship where he's like teaching her, like it's not as they're not like father and daughter necessarily, but something like Saw and Luthen or Saw and Jin. And Hayden got this look on her face and I said, don't say it, don't, I will kill you. And she goes, it's so balanced and Cordelia coded. And I knew she was gonna say that.
Everything has learned about Valance, she's learned against her will.
Literally.
Before the podcast started, how many times did you like seen the name Valance, let alone like, and now you have the whole lore?
Yeah, it was a little bit because I had read the Solo, the Imperial Cadet, but I didn't know that was Valance. Like, I kept seeing Hayden post about this Valance, and then she's like, oh, he was in Solo. I was like, or Imperial Cadet. I was like, who was he? And she's like, he's the guy that gets hit with a lunch train. I was like, that's Valance. And then, like, my Valance knowledge has increased.
It's increased tenfold. Yeah, I ordered I just got the Imperial Cadet comic the other week, so I'm gonna read that at some point.
Sweet.
Pretty good.
My backlog is insane at this point of like stuff I need to read. I'm never catching up to it.
don't. I have like stacks of books, like, and that's just like the canon stuff. Like that's soon before we get to like Legends. I've got like a stack of Legends books I got to get through. Oh, it's crazy.
And then I go to the thrift store and I keep buying them, and it's like I'm not. I have so many.
I reorganized,
and now they're re-releasing all the
Legends ones.
All the Legends, like essential Legends
stuff.
I reorganized my bookshelf like a couple months ago to where it was just a Star Wars shelf, and it's already full at this point. And I'm like, oh my god, this is bad. And then like I went to the one thrift store near me a couple months ago. I got 9 Legends books for like $20, and I'm like, I have nowhere to put these. They're not in that good condition,
amazing.
But I'm like,
dude, I'm just High Republic or bust at this point with books because
I got to get the art books so bad. I need
that has literally been me the last couple of weeks.
Is freaking huge. I love that thing.
Yeah. Like I mean, like we were like talking about it just before we came on air. I've literally just been reading the Starlight Stories book. It's very cool stuff.
Like I'm jumping from like right back to the beginning of the episode here, but I was just thinking about Brasso and the brick, and I just completely glanced over Cassian's flashback and seeing his dad's.
Yeah.
Oh,
that was a phenomenal flashback.
So good.
Eyes open, possibilities everywhere. It's like, hell yeah.
It's so, I love how Clem saw so clearly who Cassian was. As like, and like the perfect understanding of like, you know, him as like eventually this like rebel spy who, you know, sees and hears all. I mean, you see that a lot through this series, but I also love how in the flashbacks with Clem, it is so much unlike the Canary flashbacks. It's like, you know, that like Cassian is like transported back in that moment because you don't ever see his face in it.
Yeah.
It's always it's like his POV with Clem. I love that. Yeah, the back of his head, it's very much him reliving the moment rather than just maybe remembering it.
And there was that one, the last time they had the flashback, we saw older Cassian, but until the very last shot where it was younger Cassian again, just to show like the way that we're literally seeing this through Cass's memories and not like actually going back to that moment, which I love the way they're done.
Really cool. Sorry to interrupt, but it was a really cool directorial decision to like just show it from Cassian's point of view, and Clem's speech about the rust and stuff, about how, you know, there's all these really cool stuff. There's all this really cool stuff that they could use, but they don't look past the rust, and that is literally a great theme for every character in a sense here, because they all have their degree of rust where it's like a metaphor for like how each of these characters we have seen in the show are all people who are overlooked by the Empire until they become a threat, and then the Empire starts taking them seriously. Because like when the Empire came to power, it went after all the obvious targets. It went after the Mandalorians, the Jedi, the clone troopers, all of these like really like obviously powerful forces. And the thing that ultimately kind of like starts to resist against them and like, you know, empower future generations of those groups is ordinary people who have been underestimated by the Empire, and that's what Cassian kind of represents. It's like, it's just really cool stuff thematically.
Yeah, and like we're even seeing like the theme of these ordinary people rising up. This might be a little controversial to say, but like we saw that in Rise of Skywalker at the very end when all of those ships come in, and like you know, there's more of us.
You realize the big whatever the line is, the Phantom Menace. The biggest problem is that no one helps each other. Rise of Skywalker is like, about that.
Yeah,
about that one, Chief.
Yeah,
but like this show is so good, it is making the Rise of Skywalker just a little bit better for me, and I love that.
I think this one down here loves that movie. I'm pretty sure.
We're probably gonna like disagree there, like about Rise of Skywalker, but honestly, everything else that I have read since then about it has like made me like it just a little bit more.
I like it. It's just at the bottom of my list.
It's my least favorite Star Wars movie, but I will always champion pro Rise of Skywalker people.
It's above all of the prequels for me. And Return of the Jedi.
Look, I respect that.
Same, I respect that. I love that you have that. You've had that experience with the movie. I honestly wish I could have had that experience.
I have issues with it, but I just love my girl Ray so much
That's
I love
why
Ray too, so I'm with you there.
Yeah,
is the fact that there are so many different perspectives that this fandom has, and not everyone's list is going to be completely different. And like when I do my interview show and I ask them these questions about what their entry points are and then what are their favorite ones and what works the most, everyone has a different answer. And I just think it would be really boring if everyone was like, yeah, Empire's my favorite and this is my least favorite. Like, there you go. What were you gonna say, Conor?
No, you reminded me about the entry point. Like Amy from Twitter, I think she said before that like her entry point was the Star Wars Muppet special or whatever.
Amy Guerra?
And I'm like, what? Yeah.
Well, when we interviewed Katrina and she was like, yeah, my comfort show is the Droids animated show from the 80s. I literally almost shit myself because I was like...
The theme song to that series is very good, though.
I've never seen it. I have no idea.
I still need to watch it, but it's on Disney Plus now.
We got to do a podcast watch through of it.
My comfort Star Wars is the Ewok specials. So
Again, I've never seen them.
Whoa.
Look, I tried thing. It's like, yeah, if we get to 100 on YouTube before the end of the year, we'll do a live watch on the holiday special. We got no traction off that. So.
Here's the thing, though.
They're like, no thanks.
Here's the thing, though. How much you want to bet there's someone out there in the online community whose entry point to Star Wars was the holiday special?
There's no doubt, no question.
Imagine that. Like, just imagine that. Like someone's entry point is the holiday special.
I wish that was
that would be insane.
No, actually, I wish my entry point was Andor. I'm jealous of people who've never seen Star Wars
obviously.
And just Andor.
They'd never be able to go back. They'd be like, what? Like,
yeah, they'd get to like the prequels and be like, what the hell?
I would love to introduce someone to Star Wars and have it do it solo and or Rogue One, and then just like skip and then do New Hope, and then they're like, what's happening?
I've always wanted.
It seems like you're building a story about like Mim Bam Survivor.
Yeah. And then it just doesn't lead to that. Yeah.
It's
like,
and then Han is not mentioning any of the people that he met in Solo.
It's like, who's this Luke Skywalker kid? And like, that's not Kira. And like,
wait, where's Kira?
Yeah, because I'm trying to eventually introduce my youngest sibling to the movies, and I'm having that crisis moment of like, do I show them Rogue One before A New Hope, or do I do the spin-offs last? Like, I just don't know what I'm gonna do, because they're gonna be like, well, Cassian's not in this.
I honestly think if you show people Solo first, they will like Han more. I believe that.
I would. I love him.
I mean,
that movie's so
Solo. So
that's probably my comfort Star Wars movie at this point. Like, I can turn that on and watch that at literally any point, and I'm just having a great time. Like, it's so fun.
Solo would be so interesting to start off with, because then you would get to Phantom Menace, and you'd be like, what? I thought he's alive.
No, yes,
that's crazy. Like, Phantom Menace is probably my comfort Star Wars, to be honest.
Same. And I know Em doesn't like it, so you know what?
Yeah, that's Jake's favorite.
That's my bottom.
Wait, Don, what?
I just like pod racing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, makes sense.
Can't stand the pod racing.
Oh my god!
It's part of what lowers it so much.
Wow. Oh my god!
First time I've heard that.
I can see why, because George Lucas was literally like, all right, so I really like 50s racing cars. Now let me just make that a 25-minute scene in the movie uninterrupted. So the sound design is fantastic.
Fly around.
He was really excited about technology. He's like, I need to lengthen this scene as long as I possibly can.
That's the thing about, like, it's not Star Wars because there's bricks and screws. There's a whole 50s ass diner in Attack of the Clones.
Yeah,
dude, that's a 50s diner that I need in Galaxy.
Would you like a cup of Java juice? Like, I need that in my life. Is what I
need that droid waitress. Like,
I think about her
at a restaurant.
They should just put her in bogas.
Yeah, they need,
and then come up with some backstory why she's there.
Yeah,
just take out Docking Bay 7, and it should just be that diner. Even though that diner's not on Batuu.
Because we know that Dexter Jettster is in the High Republic, so we just need him to live up until the sequel trilogy, put Dex's diner on Batuu, and boom, you're printing money.
How long does he's like? What is he about? The alien?
Basilisk.
I was going to say basilisk, but that's Harry Potter.
That's Harry Potter.
How long do they live?
Apparently to at least 100, 200 years.
Pretty damn long, it seems.
If you're General Krell, it's
can you imagine Pong Krell living 300 years?
I would die.
Sots also live like 200 plus years. They can.
Really?
Then they met
oh my
Callus.
God. Zed is going to outlive Callus.
Yeah, because Midnight Horizon, there is a Lasat that is then in Most Wanted, which is haunting Kira on.
And aren't there Lasat going thinking Shadow of the Sith?
Wow.
No,
I need to finish that.
So what we figured out here is for Syril, he just needs his curling up in the snow moment with Luthen, like Zeb and Callus, and boom.
Yeah.
I'm just a rebel saying, now.
Yeah, him and Cassian need to have their honorable ones moment. And
then we'll have that.
I guess Brasso is more the dynamic, maybe, since he's almost probably as big as Zeb is.
Yeah, but I don't know. Brasso, I don't know. I just feel like I don't know. I don't ship it. Syril and Brasso.
I don't ship it. I'm just saying I don't ship it. I just think that dynamic is what we're looking for.
There's someone that could turn anyone back to the good side, it'd be Brasso.
Yeah,
Brasso could do literally anything, and I'd be like, okay, yes, sir, I agree. Yeah. You're just that cool.
That dude does some of the most homey shit in this entire show.
For life.
You had your wish. You had your wish because when we were doing the Andor finale like tweets thing the last time Mo was on, you were kept being like, "Does Brasso do any homie shit?" As a matter of fact, he did.
Yeah, he fucking
my heart melted when him and Cassian reunited, and they just had that great hug.
When Cassian lost his arms around him.
Yeah,
that was a hug.
Pulls him back in.
Yeah,
like
that was beautiful.
You don't see enough like male relationships in Star Wars.
I love Brasso because I feel like he's that perfect response to like I don't know, I don't like, but like it's like he's the perfect balance of like a character who could very well be like toxic masculinity. He's huge, he's strong, but like he has that like soft side to him where he's taking care of Bix and B2 and Maarva and Cassian, and he's memorizing everything that Cassian and Maarva wanted to say to Cassian so he can tell Cassian. And then the next scene, he's beating stormtroopers with bricks. Like, I love it.
Imperial in the chest.
It's beautiful.
He's taking out like 5 stormtroopers before they even blink.
So
he headbutted a stormtrooper. The guy's on license.
How terrified I was.
He's picking up that kid like by his scruff to get him out of there.
Yeah, he's like, "Come on."
I love that he saved Wilman. Yeah, and like because we've only touched on Wilman briefly. Wilman Pack is really interesting as well because he serves the kind of character stuff here as well because he's like Cassian. He loses his dad in literally the exact same way. But the difference with him and Cassian is that Cassian was isolated until this series. Mm-hmm. He isolated himself in his grief and his kind of like frustration of like being this kind of outsider, whereas Wilman Pack is able to like because he has this community around him, he's able to rebel in such a strong. And I loved that intercutting of him like looking at his dad's hologram while he's like putting that bomb together, and like when he just throws it, it's very satisfying.
So. It's like his dinner moment.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
I was terrified for Brasso though, like the whole time that uprising was going on, because he was taking out people left and right. I'm like, they're gonna cheer.
Oh, dude, I was fucking worried. I was like,
don't shoot him, please.
Don't do this. Don't do this. Don't kill him.
We even got the time grappler like knocking people off the tower. I was like,
dude, I thought the time grappler was gonna have like a armorer moment and just beat the shit out of stormtroopers with the freaking.
I was like, don't dare kill the time grappler, and then he.
I was so worried it was gonna get blown up.
Someone was saying like, you can't beat them with the hammer because like that's like a cultural thing, and like that's too much respect for the stormtroopers. And I was like, I understand that, but
he doesn't want
the crack of stormtrooper armor. I love that.
But he also he doesn't want to mess up his instruments. He has
His
to
rhythm.
keep beating it. Yeah, he kicks that stormtrooper off and then goes right back to him.
Don't interrupt my work.
The dude gets it.
That we've been talking this long and we haven't brought up Vel and Cinta like at all, and I think we got to change that.
Turn away
because
Cinta is a stone cold badass. Like when she shanks
so much.
She is so Jyn Erso coded. Listen, she has a knife on her at all times.
Where's my Black Series figure, Hasbro? I got the announced the Vel one. I need my space lesbians together.
Yeah,
like it's not the complete set.
Her, Jyn, and Enfys are all the or Enfys is quote, they'll underestimate you, make them regret it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is exactly what they all are.
Because he really thought like he could like, because he towers over her, like I can intimidate you, and she said, "I'm gonna shank the hell out of you."
Because we like finally got.
I'm gonna intimidate you. Well, I'm gonna kill you.
You're dead, actually.
Like I'm gonna intimidate you. I have a knife.
Yeah,
like I'll do you one better.
Yeah,
stabby, stab. But like we've just seen her like chilling the last couple episodes, just like staring ominously. I'm like, you're gonna save Bix, but then it's like, oh no, we're gonna kill this ISB agent, which was just so great. But then we see like how her and Vel, like their relationship, like Cinta at this point is like so devoted to the cause.
Yeah.
Where Vel is just like, we gotta leave. It's like, no, I gotta go kill this guy real quick. But I am very interested because we were all wondering, like, okay, like obviously Cinta and Vel aren't gonna kill Cassian because you know, Rogue One. But it's like, what's gonna happen to where they don't do that? And we don't really get that answer. But like Luthen, obviously, like now that they're working together, they're on the same side. So like, I am just very like so hyped for the like Cinta Vel Cassian missions that we're probably gonna get next season. I'm like the man and his two lesbian friends. Like I'm so excited for that ultimate LGBTQ ally Cassian
certified
Andor.
lesbian protector.
Yeah, exactly. Honorary lesbian Cassian Andor.
I'm interested to see where Cinta and Vel are going to end up as well, like with their story, because Vel is very much kind of like same, because like Cinta is still in the kind of mindset of just because Cinta is very revenge orientated still. She still wants to just like hurt the Empire whenever she can, whereas Vel is becoming kind of like, she's like, oh no, I need to kind of hang on to my humanity here. I need to hang on to like who I am. And it's like Cinta kind of said early, like before, I think it was like, oh, you know, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like, it was a quote of, I'm whoever I need to be.
I'm a mirror. I show you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. What you want to see. So it's like, she's kind of like, she almost kind of closes. She doesn't almost. She literally closes herself off from any idea of like a life. I mean, I'm hoping that like their resolution is like Poe Dameron's parents, where like they finally just make the decision. Oh, we don't need to do this fight all the time. We can actually just like settle down and retire and let others carry on the fight, because like that's the nature of community. You don't have to be an island, and that's the beauty of what this show has been demonstrating.
Yeah, it's the same. I would love to see them kind of, I think seeing more of that tension would be interesting, you know, between Cinta's, you know, whole commitment versus Vel maybe wanting to take a little bit more for herself. But yeah, it's the same thing. I would love to see them basically retire and kind of settle down. And I'd love to see them live into the sequels. I do think they'd probably join the Resistance again, just because I feel like both of them still believe in that. But I think then knowing maybe the potential of like, because there's stuff we haven't seen, like them being meeting someone like Rose Tico and like being able to provide guidance for her would be really cool.
That would be wonderful. Like if we get like a year after Andor season 2, a Star Wars comic, and I just see Vel and Cinta show up in a sequel era, I'll be like, yo, and that would be so cool. I'm just hoping that they don't like kill one and leave the other one alive, because like it's just the one thing I've noticed with this show is like every time we get some like cool representation, they just like take it away from us immediately. And Vel and Cinta, like they've lasted this long, so please, like keep it going.
I'm hoping, because there's such high potential for, I mean, Cassian and Luthen and I think also maybe Syril and Dedra to die, that means that they're okay.
I hope. When we were doing the Aldani episodes, I was like, Vel's on the poster, so she's living. And everyone else, I'm like, you're probably dead.
Yeah.
That's what I said. People were like, they're going to kill Cinta. And I was like, Cinta's on the poster, they're not going to kill her. And they actually, besides Maarva, who I think was on one poster, nobody from the poster died.
Cinta, I thought was screwed because they did the lover. Like when Terriman was like, "Oh, you're leading," and I was like, "Oh, he's dead." But like I was the idiot that was like, "It's going to be Vel and it's going to be Gorn," and then Gorn was the literal first to die, and I was.
Wow. I want to talk about Gorn.
I'm so mad. I was like, such a cool character.
You've actually just like reminded me of something there as well, of like because. There was that, because I mentioned before about Luthen's speech and like the whole idea of him saying, "Oh, you know, I burn my future for a sunrise I'll never see," and that's again a theme here of people giving their lives for the rebellion. But the thing that I think is important is you do need to show the people who they are sacrificing themselves for. So there needs to be characters here that are going to live past these events, that are going to basically live to see that sunrise, because like. You didn't get that in Rogue One, but you didn't need to because, like, that
Leia.
Immediately because
it was the Leia. What have they
Wars.
brought us? Hope.
Exactly, because Leia is the one.
They need their Leia. Yeah. They need their Mon Mothma. They need their other like Mon Mothma.
Yeah, there needs to be like some characters who can survive to like carry that sacrifice through and actually see the sunrise. And I'm hoping it's Bix and like. Vel and Cinta. That would be really cool.
Yeah,
I mean, Brasso, ideally, yes, as well, but like, yes. I'm still worried for him come season 2.
It's the same. It's like, you know, or like Rebels, like you have Kanan and Ezra who sacrifice themselves so that Zeb and Sabine and Hera can live on.
And Jason.
Yeah, exactly that.
Low green boy.
He can go. But Bix at this point better live because my like Google Doc that I'm going to be sending Austin of story ideas is just getting larger and larger and larger, and I need it to keep growing. But I brought up the when they all go about like Cassian leaves his friends and they all leave. Because I said, because there was the great line from Bix, it's like, oh, it's Cassian. Like, he's always, I don't remember what it was. But
he'll find us.
Cassian will find us, yeah.
And I said, oh, when he's like, oh, I'll come find you. And I was like, yeah, he's not going to find them, is he? Like, I don't know why. Because we've had so many of those, like, like, tragic moments at the end of arcs where it's like, oh, yeah, Kino's going to, and it's just like, I don't want that to happen. Like, I hope that they do reunite. But I could see it to be where, like, oh, Cassian's off doing rebel stuff, and he just never sees him again.
The thing that we talk about is, like, I think, you know, it's, Don has talked so much about it that, like, with community, Cassian's biggest resistance is the fact that he keeps community, he keeps caring about people, even though that's what the Empire tries to get people not to do. He sees it, you see it in the way that he takes Nevik to the doctor, the entire thing in prison, him rescuing Bix, his care for Maarva, or him coming back for Maarva, even though that could get him in trouble. Like, that's his biggest resistance, but also he cares so deeply about the people that he is willing to sacrifice himself for them. And I think that Cassian's idea is, if I don't go visit them, because I could potentially leave the Empire to their doorstep, I will not go to them if that means that they get to be safe. I will let them forget me or let them be angry that I never came if that means that they get to be safe and they get to be protected
just like
from
Peter Parker in No Way Home.
Oh my goodness. I never expected a Spidey comparison of all things.
The
Spider-Man coded Cassian Andor.
Cassian Andor.
That is that. God. Yeah, that is.
Andor episode season 2 ends with Doctor Strange like, oh, they'll forget you, and I'm like, where did this come from? The time grappler erases Cassian Andor.
I think that's like other, like, I mean, because Diego talked so much about, and we see that a little bit in Rogue One, that like Cassian doesn't have a lot of people that he's close to. Like Diego constantly talks about how K2 is his best friend, his like real only companion. And I think that comes down to a lot of times Cassian cuts off connections just so the people around him don't get hurt through him.
Yeah,
definitely. I've also like, because I said this the last time Mo was on for the prison episode, where I was like, I am fully confident that Diego Luna is winning the Emmy for this show. I am more confident than ever now after the season's over. I think it's happening. I think he's gonna be the first Star Wars actor to win an award for it. And
I think it's gonna be tough competition against, like, I don't know, because I know a lot of people talked about House of Dragons with Patty, but I kind of think Diego was better.
Yeah, definitely.
Technically, an actor has won an award for a Star Wars role, an Emmy in particular. It was David Tennant for, I think it was for Clone Wars. Yeah, he won an Emmy for voicing Hu Yang. Yeah, he won an Emmy for voicing Hu Yang in the Clone Wars.
Interesting.
Nice.
Speaking of David Tennant, Don, do you have a Who Watch? Our last Who Watch of the season?
I do indeed, Andrew. Give me a second. I'm just going to pull up my notes. So the latest Who Watch is Lee Ross. He plays the character. I can't remember who he plays in Andor. He's one of the Imperials who I think is based on Ferrix. But he appeared in season 6 of Doctor Who, and he played the character Boatswain in the episode Curse of the Black Spot, which was a pirate themed episode. Like they went on a pirate ship. And like I'll also use this, since this is the last episode we're covering on the series, to like just cover a few people I missed. So there's also Michael Jen, who plays Legret, Supervisor Legret. He was playing the character Clarence. He played the character Clarence DeMarco in series 7 of Doctor Who, and then finally Faye Marseille, who plays Vel. She was in the 2014 Christmas special with Peter Capaldi, and also Nick Frost playing Father Christmas, because that's a thing that can happen in Doctor Who. Santa Claus can turn up and fight aliens with the Doctor.
And all of these people were probably also in Game of Thrones.
Oh, 100%. It's the correlation of British actor, Game of Thrones, Doctor Who, Star Wars. It's Harry Potter for good measure for Fiona Shaw, and it's just they all. Yeah. And James Potter was the Doctor on
6 degrees of separate, 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, but for like.
But for Star Wars,
yeah, because I know the guy
6
who
degrees
flips
of
over
Kevin Bacon, but for like sci-fi.
Fake Callus, who flips over B2, plays a Targaryen. I know that.
Oh wow.
Fake
Oh yes, he was Rhaegar. He was Rhaegar Targaryen. Yeah.
I don't know what these words mean.
That's all for me.
Yeah.
Have you not seen Game of Thrones, Andrew? See, I tell you to watch, but I'm kind of like this really, because I'm like, do I want to subject Andrew to Game of Thrones season 8? Do I want to do that? I'm not sure.
House of the Dragon was really good.
Yeah,
I haven't watched.
Yeah, watch House of the Dragon.
Game of Thrones, but I really liked I've watched like the first.
I want to watch House of the Dragon, but this is like a couple months ago when I came on for you and Connor, and I was like, "Yeah, I just watched Fellowship of the Ring for the first time," and you were like, "What the hell?"
You were like, "What?"
Yeah. But
you got to watch Two Towers.
You gotta see it. I'll get to it.
Go watch Return of the King.
I gotta watch it. Okay. No. Here's my thing, Andrew. Here's my thing. When you watch Return of the King, do not watch the extended edition. There's one reason for it. And Don, you know why.
Do not watch the extended edition.
Do not watch the extended. Do not. For there's one specific actual movie reason. I will not say it. I will not. You know exactly what I'm talking about, Don.
All right.
I did. Yeah, no, I do. I just got it. Yeah.
Or if you do watch the extended edition, I'm like, I gotta tell, like, you're gonna have to skip like 2 scenes.
Unfortunately,
it kind of gives some stuff away that like makes for a really cool thing later on.
Movie stuff. Yeah.
So Cassian, Luthen, they're teaming up now. Again, that was such a great scene. The smirk. And then we get the post-credit scene. And Yeah, so
Sick.
I think
I called
Tony
that
Gilroy.
shit.
Yeah, I called it.
Head.
Everyone's like, "Oh, what are they building on Narkina?" And it's like, "Oh, Death Star?"
I saw-
Question mark.
I saw
And
people
what
who
do
were
you
like, oh,
know?
it's like TIE fighters. That makes sense with the third prong. I was like, there's no way Tony Gilroy, of all people, is making them build like just something for the Empire.
Yeah.
I did not believe it. I was like, he knows how to hurt us. He's done. I was like, this season he's already done it. He did the climb thing.
Mm-hmm.
He did the droid friend. Tony Gilroy knows how to hurt us. I knew there was no way that wasn't going to be relevant. And what do you know? Because
We got
of course
climb again in this episode, which is why I'm terrified that we're not going to see them again. It's the
This
curse.
is why Tony Gilroy said, I cannot just have these characters building something. I have to have what kills Melshi and Cassian be what they're building, because it's just too good to pass up.
Specific weapon too, part of the Death Star.
Gut wrenching.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
Screws
shot.
to the panels of the screws to the screws to the panels to the Death Star. It's like
But there's no screws in Star Wars, so
there's
I'm
no
very...
Easter eggs in Andor either.
Yeah,
There's no
Yeah,
politics
they
in
just
Star Wars
glue
either.
everything. They just use alien glue instead of
It's
screws.
the Force. That's how
Also,
the Force works.
how sick is it
Yeah.
that like it's something that small that they were building too?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That you needed
exactly.
an entire prison complex to build just that specific part. And it shows so much more. Sorry, but it shows so much more about, like, of course they're not going to let any of these prisoners out because they're not going to stop until this Death Star is built.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Krennic is not going to let them stop. This is also why I was not. When there were rumors of Ben Mendelsohn in the first season, I wasn't that thrilled because I was like, yeah, I would rather see a new Imperial villain, which we did get. And I just want something unique. I do really want to see in season 2 him reacting to the prison breakout and just to see that Ben Mendelsohn Krennic yell and panic.
I want to see.
I need it.
I want to see
Back
Tarkin
in Star
like
Wars.
just being
Giggling.
an asshole
think-
to him, and then Krennic just not being able to handle it. And I need that.
You know Thrawn
Krennic just having a temper
so
tantrum.
you know Thrawn talks so much shit about Krennic after that happened.
For sure.
He was like, he couldn't even keep the prisoners in.
I am like, because I was going to say, do you think this opens the door to characters like Galen Erso and like Krennic showing up in season 2 and kind of having like
Bodhi Rook,
like Bodhi, yeah, but having that,
Bodhi Rook, Bodhi Rook.
But like,
yes, no,
that,
I think
like, kind of like how Mon's storyline is a bit separate than everything else. We have a separate thing with the Death Star. Maybe Dedra gets punished and she gets reassigned to work under Krennic or something. I think the possibilities
the ultimate
are endless here.
punishment.
Work with this drama,
especially for her.
Oh
yeah.
Oh God, she would.
We stand here amidst my achievement.
It's a fate worse than death for her.
She's rolling.
Yeah.
Her eyes hurt from how much they're rolling them.
The one thing I will have questions about is, like, I'm fairly certain in Rogue One that both Mon and Cassian do not know about the Death Star, so they have to find a way to incorporate
he's looking
it into
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what Cassian is looking into it. That's why they don't know about it. And I think Tony said like he probably will never figure out that he helped build it, but they are looking into it because there's all the pieces of like. Saw is looking into the Kyber crystals and why they're taking so much because he doesn't know what Galen is working on, but he knows it's Kyber crystals, and they have all these planets where like and people are putting together. I think the planets where they're taking the more resources from.
Yeah.
So I think they know that something is happening. Or like I think that was Thrawn that he was figuring out that all the resources.
Because Thrawn figures out that like the Dunium material that's being harvested from a lot of different planets, like Thrawn figures out that that's, you know, going towards something, which turns out to be the Death Star. And like, I think absolutely, I'd be really shocked if at least one of these characters from Rogue One doesn't turn out. Like, I'd be really shocked if we don't at least get Krennic or Galen Erso, because like it just makes sense. And I feel like, go on.
I would also love to see Tyrion and Baze because I think that's on two folds. We get to see one, them reacting to the destruction of Jeddah, like the initial kind of Empire coming in and starting to take the crystals, and maybe we see that final push of Baze losing his faith while Chirrut kind of becomes more steadfast in it. And two, because now that the High Republic Phase 2 is focusing so heavily on Jeddah and the Guardians of the Wills, I think that would be a cool connection to basically see how the Guardians of the Wills have changed throughout the years. To get from like where we see them in the High Republic to where they are. Because they exist where also the Jedi don't really anymore, and that's interesting too.
We have to see like Saw building his base on Jeddah, and then there is a time period. There is a time period where he works with Chirrut and Baze, so that would be fantastic.
Yes,
that would be really cool to
Austin
see.
would love Baze showing up. I just know that for a fact. But like with his like Ben Mendelsohn and Mads Mikkelsen showing up in this show with this script, sign me up.
Yes,
because you're the Jyn Erso enthusiast here. Do you think like a 5-second, like kind of just in the corner Felicity Jones cameo is possible in season 2?
Yeah, because if it's ending with Cassian going to the Rings of Kafrene, that would mean that it's ending with them planning to break Jyn Erso out as well, with Melshi going. So I think that it's possible that as they're looking into the Death Star and Galen, then we can see them also looking in and finding out about Jyn. So I would love that. And I know other people have mentioned, like, I mean, I don't think they will go through with it, but like it would be cool because like how the show is disconnected, seeing, even if it's just like before, but like depending on the time period that they do, especially because they're skipping, you could see Jyn on something like what's Maz Kanata's planet?
Takodana.
Takodana, because that's where she spent time, and then like some of the other planets that she was off like doing forgeries and stuff. So I think it's possible, but I think the most possible is going to be we're going to see them putting the pieces together that she is the same girl that was with Saw is Galen Erso's daughter.
I want to see
like
Melshi and Cassian like surrounded by a hollow of Jyn.
Yes.
And they're
her
after. Yeah. Also, if we got like wildest dreams moment here, but like if we got a quick scene of when Jyn gets captured by the Imperials and then sent to Wobani. I don't know. But that's just me wanting.
I was going to say the same thing. Yeah.
Wobani run. Oh, fucking Tim.
Yeah,
now
exactly.
I'm reminded of him again.
Fucking Tim.
I'm just mad.
Oh my god.
But this was a finale for the ages. I don't know if it's my favorite episode of the season, but I mean it's up there. I feel like every week we were like, yeah, last week was great. This week was like way better. And it's just like I kept getting like
I really like it. I think my favorite is still One Way Out, but I'll have
One Way Out. I think is also still my favorite.
I'll have to go back through the episodes before we do like.
I love them all.
The big series.
they're all my children.
It's just
the Albany arc is still my favorite.
Such a strong run.
Andor's just so consistently good. I don't think I can pick like a favorite episode. I can pick like favorite moments in the episodes, but not like one-to-one like a favorite beginning to end favorite episode.
So many great speeches too, like throughout the
like Peter Capaldi should have a role in this series just to like give a speech
because that was what Imperial.
I'd love to see that.
It'll give us content. But does anyone
latest who watch the Doctor showed up?
yeah, exactly.
It's him.
It's like, oh, Matt Smith finally showed up in Star Wars? Like, wow. Shocking.
Playing Palpatine's cousin.
Oh, God.
No, he was Palpatine.
He was, yeah.
Allegedly.
I love that. I'm so a little obsessed with that, honestly.
I mean...
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I still think Palpatine
that actually would have been kind of sick.
Possible. But, I don't know. If I have to bet one character, like, 100% this character is showing up, I'm still saying Bail Organa, but I mean Krennic is very possible now. Galen Erso, I think, and then like we've said, I think the Jyn thing, like in the last episode, I think would be great. But like if we like Em did say, because we have those separate perspectives, if we got to see like in the last arc like Jin in that prison, that would be awesome. It's like, oh, here's Jin or so. I would be like, okay, I'm not going to complain.
Here's Felicity Jones.
Here's that.
I'm still putting I think I've switched from putting all my money on Bodhi Rook. I want to see Riz Ahmed again.
You gotta see him.
I really want to see Bodhi. I think if I could, I think I would probably because we all know K2SO is there. So I think if I have to put my money on someone, it's like, I think most of all I'd like to see Bodhi turn up. Agreed.
How do we feel about the K2 is B2's like memory, like theory, like
I hope it's bogus. I hope it's wrong.
No idea. I have no idea.
I think if any existing thing is K2 or gets uploaded, it's the Fandor. I think the Fandor and K2's personalities are way more similar. Cool. And I think that kind of makes sense because they could, capture a droid because they need its information, and maybe the ship is crashing and Luthen is like, we need the information that's on the Fandor, and they load it in. And because of those personalities, and that reprogramming, that's how we get K2.
See, Conor, this whole season I had my Luthen theory, and then it didn't end up happening. So I mean, maybe season 2, but we'll see.
Probably.
I thought he was. I thought he was toast in this episode.
Because what if he has to kill Luthen, and that's like one of the first terrible things he's done for the rebellion?
Well, my theory was that it was.
I thought that's how it was going to end. My theory was
that it was going to be tied to Saw, but the fact that Saw didn't show up in this one, and then last episode I kind of started weaning off that and was like, it's probably going to be season 2 if it happens with Luthen dying, because I just didn't think there'd be enough time in this episode to have Luthen's.
Stellina also said a long time ago, he's the first person to say they were filming Andor in the fall, so I knew Luthen
that he was going to
live. Because Stellan was like, we're filming it.
Yeah.
Well, he was like, oh yeah, I shot scenes with Forrest Whitaker before, months before they even said he was on the show.
Kitty,
it's Kylo Ren.
Oh,
hey!
I have a black cat, and his name is Ben Solo.
I know, we talked about
that's lovely. I have a black cat.
Oh my god!
I have a black cat called Bodhi.
That's so cute. That's such a good cat name.
Oh, it really is. He's
such
a
cat
fella.
person too, Bodhi.
I have Lola right over there. Does that count? I don't have any pets near me.
I have Peter. He's taking a bath right now.
Oh.
I got nothing. I got one eye.
Basically, Conor needs a cat.
I got this guy. Yeah, that's about it.
I have
Lola.
She makes.
I got one eye. Yeah, that's it.
All right, that's your pet. Do I dare wrap it up right there? I have one eye, and that's the episode.
Yeah,
as good as place as any, I think.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think we've talked about everything we can with this finale, which is a lie because we can definitely talk about way more. But there's only so much you can discuss. So again, thank you all for joining us for our Andor recaps. They have been so much fun getting to have so many guests on. So real quickly, I just want to thank everyone that we've had on for these episodes. So I want to thank Austin and Chelsea of This Is the Wayseekers. I want to thank Megan from SWE. I want to thank Sarah Palpatine. I want to thank Mo for coming on 3 times. And then I want to thank M as well for showing up for this one. These have been so much fun to make and have so many great people talk about this show with us, and it's been a joy, and I love doing these recaps. And here's to season 2 in 2024. So,
oh god,
stop! I'm hibernating for 2 years.
Yeah. But yeah, so this was awesome. So now we will sign off. I hope you all enjoyed the Andor crossover event of the century. We hope it lived up to the hype. We talked about Syril for about 25 minutes, so I'm sure it's what you expect. I'm sure it's what you expected. And
Syril took over the podcast.
Yeah. So M, since this is your first time on, thank you for joining us. If you want to just
having me,
no problem. If you want to just let the people know where they can find you, what you're up to, go right ahead.
You can find me on TikTok at StardustM and on Twitter and Instagram at _StardustM. You can also listen to my podcast, Kessel Run Relay. We'll have episodes up for Andor 11 and 12 soon. So if you'll listen to our thoughts and we have fun guests for those, I cosplay. I actually do cosplay, Syril, also. If you want to check that out on TikTok.
I saw the tie. I was like,
it's perfect.
I love it.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
I say all the time that Kessel Run's one of my. I'm behind, but I say all the time it's one of my favorite podcasts. It's just the energy there is awesome, and
our Andor episodes. I'm very proud of it. We had some really cool people on for them.
Yeah, all three of you are the best, and it was great to finally have you on. Mo, you've been here. This is your third time, and hopefully not the last. So where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at JinMyStardust, and you can follow our shop on Instagram, Sunshine Seekers.
Yes.
Perfect. It's good stuff.
We're
Connor,
doing,
unfortunately,
lots of Taylor Swift stuff and hairstyles as well. So,
yes,
cool.
Connor, unfortunately, your contract has run out with For the Republic. This is, in fact, your last time on the show. I hate to break it to you, but where can they find you?
He's so hurt.
He's like, all right, I'm gone. Bye.
All right. They can find me on Twitter and Hive, both at Depa Banana. Instagram at ConmanJFO, which I don't use that much. Where else? Oh, another podcast I co-host, the Nerd Academy. I can't speak. The Nerd Academy podcast, specifically the Star Wars show, Knights of the Nerd Republic. You can find us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Go listen to that. It's pretty much the same stuff I do here with For the Republic. I write Star Wars trivia questions along with, this guy over here for a online Star Wars trivia league I do called Star Wars in a Galaxy Epic Confrontations. You can follow that at the Star Wars in a Galaxy YouTube channel. That's where we post all our matches. And then sweditor.ig.com/fiction. I work with a wonderful group of creative people and help craft a connected universe of Star Wars fan stories. I don't have any stories published yet. I do have a few in the works. One I can talk about. It's called The Hidden Kyber. It is set shortly after the events of Jedi Fallen Order, as I'm pretty sure everyone knows here. One of my favorite Star Wars stories. And it stars Seer Junda and Cal Kestis, and it'll come out sometime. I don't know when.
It gets delayed every episode.
It gets delayed every episode. Austin done. We don't have set release dates with SWEF. We just don't.
Yeah, the release is fluid.
Don, I don't believe. No, wait, you were on last week. Never mind. But where can the people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Donovan Mead, where I post a lot of Star Wars stuff, occasionally Marvel, Doctor Who, and also politics. You can also find me on Hive now at Donovan McComish, which has been really, really fun to like kind of get on that platform and like have a non-fraught environment, really. Actual peaceful conversation has been nice on that platform. You can also find me on Instagram, Donovan_McComish, and like Conor, I write, like Conor, I write. I've now joined the writing team of Epic Confrontations with Conor and Eli. I write questions for it. We just finished like writing questions for like a recent video, which was really cool. And also like Conor and Andrew and Megan earlier in the podcast, I'm part of SWE Fiction. We've been crafting
our co-host,
and Jake, of course, friend of the podcast.
R.I.P.
for now. But like, so I'm part. Yeah, so I'm part of SWE Fiction. We write a shared continuity of fan stories. I wrote Scars of War, which came out back in May. It centers on a clone trooper called Blister who survived the events of Order 66 and has like a dark secret that keeps close to his chest, and he's unexpectedly thrown together with a Jedi survivor, Shar Kun, who's also got some dark pursuers on her tail, and the two of them have to band together to try and fend off these attackers and work out their shared trauma. If you like the Clone Wars, then yeah, give it a read. I had a lot of fun writing it.
Blister is such a clone trooper name.
Oh, thank you. That I am so touched by that. Thank you. That is awesome.
It really
That's
is
exactly what I wanted to hear.
As for myself, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Starlight Andrew. You can also find me on Twitch, same username. I'm gonna try to start doing some streams soon because can't do YouTube live yet, but we'll get that going pretty soon. Also on Hive at the same name, except the app doesn't really work for me 90% of the time. So the sheer chance it does, I might post some fun stuff. I've been tweeting about Knives Out a bunch lately, so there's that. You can also find me breaking into Austin's house and pitching him my Bix Colleen story pitch, which we need to do, Austin. My DMs are open. And then you can also find the podcast on Twitter at For the Repub Pod and on Instagram and TikTok at For the Republic Pod. We are going to probably do a full series review of Andor Season 1 sometime in the next couple weeks, which stay tuned for details on that. And then we will be back with our Clone Wars coverage. But in terms of weekly shows and recaps, Bad Batch will be back for in January. That's going to be so much fun to talk about a new animated show once again. So thank you to everyone for joining us for our Andor coverage. It's been awesome. But until next time, may the Force be with you always.